In a dystopian future, humanity has created a drug granting biological immortality. However, the price of eternal life is the strict prohibition of reproduction to prevent overpopulation. Any children discovered are summarily executed by law enforcement, and their parents are prosecuted without exception. Detective Briggs, a member of this relentless police force, arrives at a dilapidated apartment complex. Inside, his colleagues are interrogating an elderly woman who has been secretly raising 2 children. The apartment is a chaotic mess, a reflection of the woman's desperate attempts to stay hidden. Officers meticulously record photographs as evidence for the prosecution. Briggs orders his partner, Pentel, to escort the parents while he handles the children. The woman begs Briggs for mercy, her pleas filled with despair, but he remains silent, watching her be taken away. Turning his attention to the children, Briggs takes out his gun and fires, executing them. Later, as he drives his flying car through the city, he switches off the police radio, burdened by a growing sense of unease. Seeking solace, Briggs attends a lavish gala where his girlfriend Alice is performing. Her voice captivates the audience, and after her performance, the two meet. Alice speaks about the price of immortality, dismissing the loss of children as a small sacrifice for living forever. She mentions her booster shot scheduled for the following day, and asks Briggs to accompany her. During their conversation, Briggs remarks that if they weren't destined to live forever, he would marry her. Alice responds with an unsettling confession. If they weren't immortal, she would want him to father her child. Startled by her words, Briggs is left speechless, as Alice is whisked away by a friend to join the crowd. As Alice basks in admiration, Briggs notices blood on his hands, a haunting reminder of his recent actions. The emotional toll of his work is becoming harder to ignore. The next day, Alice senses something is wrong and questions Briggs, but he dismisses her concerns, claiming he just needs rest. At her booster appointment, she holds his hand for comfort, and as the procedure invigorates her, she becomes more energetic. On the drive home, Alice's newfound vitality leads her to initiate intimacy, but Briggs, weighed down by his inner turmoil, pushes her away. Later, Briggs joins Pentel on another mission. After executing more children, they prepare to transport the parents. During the process, the father seizes a gun from an officer and attempts to shoot Briggs, grazing his face before being gunned down by other officers. Shaken but composed, Briggs returns to his car. As he sits alone, flashes of his previous execution overwhelms him. He notices a child's teddy bear in the back seat, a grim token of his earlier encounter, and becomes fixated on it. Determined to uncover the origins of the bear, Briggs visits Ipswich Collectibles, a shop selling toys in a world where children no longer exist. Inside, he observes shelves lined with nostalgic items and notices a woman, Eve, purchasing a small toy train. The shopkeeper explains that the toys are now collected as relics of a bygone era. Intrigued, Briggs follows Eve to her home. There, he discovers Eve is hiding a young child, Melanie. With his gun drawn, Briggs confronts Eve and demands to know why she defied the law. Eve explains that, after 218 years of life, she no longer finds meaning in her own existence. Melanie, however, brings her joy and purpose. Every new milestone, from her first laugh to her first words, makes life worth living again. As Briggs listens, Melanie reaches for his hat, and he hands it to her, momentarily disarmed by her innocence. Eve seizes the opportunity to grab his gun, but Briggs overpowers her. Pointing the weapon at Melanie, he hesitates as Eve begs for her daughter's life. After a tense moment, Briggs lowers the gun and leaves them unharmed. Outside, Briggs finds Pentel waiting for him. As Melanie's cries echo from the house, Pentel realizes what has happened. A standoff ensues, and the two exchange gunfire. Briggs is wounded, but he manages to kill Pentel. Bleeding and exhausted, he discards his weapon and steps into the rain. Closing his eyes, he lets the downpour wash over him. The episode ends with Briggs collapsing to the ground, consumed by the weight of his actions and the choices he has made. Please like and subscribe the channel for more videos like these.